My name is Richard Robinson. I'm the Director of Legal Operations and Litigation Support for Toyota Motor North America. I've been with Toyota for coming up on 5 years now. And before that, I was at JCPenney for 7 years. And I've been in the legal industry since the early 2000s. This is my 20th legal week. So, yeah, legal operations is all about the operationalization of the legal department, right? Treating the legal department more like a business than a law firm. And I think that over the years, we've identified some key areas where data analytics is incredibly helpful, like contracts lifecycle management, right? That's the reason why it's been such a buzzword over the last few years. It's gotten such traction in the industry is because it allows us to identify some key performance indicators like time to sign or, the time that you identify a new widget to the time that it's now in your product, right? Those key performance indicators are a really important way to track how your business is performing. And so if we're treating our legal department more like a business and we're becoming more efficient and more effective, and we're treating legal like a business enablement partnership with the business rather than just a risk mitigator, that's where those data analytics become incredibly important. So that's just one area, but there are a number of areas where data analytics is become integral to the legal operations. Yeah, the right. That's the goal is that we're a partner with our clients. Um, I think that there are a number of areas where using data analytics, you can become more proactive in your approach. If I think about best case scenarios and I think about the best ways we can use data, we can be more proactive in the way that we identify risks and start whether it's training for our associates so that they're not creating the risks, or it's identifying potential issues with products or components of products so that we avoid class action lawsuits down the road. That's the goal of data analytics, to be proactive, to be able to identify patterns and risks and address them before they become litigation. Yeah, I would say that it's pretty even. It's a little bit of both. A lot of times, I think that leadership doesn't always know the metric that they're looking for. Right? They have particular issues that they're dealing with, often around spend. Right? That's probably the most common questions that are coming from leadership. How can we identify overspend, and then how can we reduce it? Um, the other side of the coin is when we are identifying or seeing patterns in the data as we're collecting it, and then being able to present that up through leadership. Yeah, that's a great question, because I think the biggest issue is the proliferation of data. There's so much of it. Um, they say that data is the new gold, data is the new oil. But sometimes just because you have oil in your backyard doesn't mean you have to drill for it. So identifying what data to collect is incredibly important. And then also, sometimes the data that we're collecting just is dirty data. It's poor data, right? And bad data in means bad data out. So the reporting that we get from that is not good. So identifying the right data to collect, how to visualize it, and how to make sure that the data we're collecting is good data and gets us to those reports that we're looking for. Those are the key elements of. It's a conversation. It's listening to leadership to find out sometimes what is being asked for in reporting is not necessarily what is needed, right? So there's active listening is a big part of it, but it's a training exercise. It's a change management exercise. Taking advantage of new tools or data implementations, technology implementations, data migrations to identify bad data and eliminate it or transform it into good data. Those are maybe some of the key ways that you can take care of those issues. Yeah, I mean, certainly to the extent that it's possible. Obviously, some data is confidential data. A lot of the data is confidential data, but to the extent that you're able to share generalized information about the data that you've collected with peers, either within or without the industry, depending on the type of data that you've collected, is incredibly useful. Data in a vacuum is worthless. So if you can't compare it, I mean, often when we're collecting data, we're just comparing it year over year and identifying trends internally. But it's really useful when you can take that data and compare it to others in the industry that are in similar situations. So benchmarking is incredibly important. Just being able to identify the proper avenues of benchmarking, how you can share that data in a way that is protecting your organization. That's the difficult part of it, but it's so important. Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Because I think that is that's where a lot of organizations fail, right? Is that they know that they need the data, they know that they want better reporting, but they don't know which questions to ask. There's no easy button in the industry, so some of it is benchmarking, right? Reaching out to other organizations that are in similar situations to say, well, what data are you collecting? Uh, some of it is reaching out to service providers who offer those solutions. Um, and some of it is just research, right? Organizations like Clock that have forums where you can share your questions and then get answers are incredibly helpful. That was a great question. Uh, I would start with a uh, a no holds barred data lake where I could get access to all of my cloud applications and pull all that data into one repository. I think that's actually one of the biggest hurdles that we have in really creating useful KPIs is being able to access, well, my matter data is hosted with this provider and their cloud. My e-discovery data is hosted with my e-discovery service provider in their cloud. And my spends data is here, right? And so my contracts data is over in this procurement application, right? Being able to pull it all together in one location so that you can create truly useful reporting. That is key. It is not impossible. It's just a complicated process that involves, cybersecurity and procurement for an organization the size of mine, right? So that would be number one. Number two would be that easy button. If I could just press, not only to be able to say, what are the metrics I should be looking at, but to offer, uh, sometimes you just don't see the trends. You have the data, but you don't recognize that there are some red flags in your data that you're not even looking for because A, nobody's told you to look for it, and B, you just haven't noticed the trends, right? Um, and I don't have a third one. Those two. If I could pull it all together, and then hit a button that would say, here are the reports that you need, uh, and here's what you've been missing. That would be my wish list. So my first piece of advice would be identify people in the industry that are doing what you want to do and reach out to them. I am a big proponent of mentorship. I think that anybody that's in my role or has been in the industry for a long time has a duty to give back to the community. And so I find that this is a very warm and inviting community. And I'm really proud to be a part of it. And I think that you'd be surprised how easy it is to reach out to somebody and say, on LinkedIn, find somebody who's got a voice that really speaks to you and then is doing the things that you want to do, and then reach out to them and say, hey, I am really interested in doing exactly what you're doing. Do you have any advice? Right. So that to me is step one. Step two is if you're early on in your career and you're in a role that isn't necessarily where you want to be, and you don't necessarily have a promotion path within your organization, look outward. Not necessarily just outside your organization, but outside your role. My position at JCPenney was originally was just e-discovery and records management. I owned those two functions, but I knew that legal ops, it was technically a legal operations role, but I knew that I wanted more in legal operations. And so I reached out to the CISO and said, there are some things that we should be working together on. Let's start talking about that. And he invited me to his cybersecurity working group, the privacy team. I was on their working group. But so I started reaching out and getting just a little bit more to my role and learning more about how that organization did those things. And that's a way that you can expand your role without necessarily getting the promotion. I stole this from David Cowan, but my career has been a jungle gym, not a ladder. So I encourage you to not just necessarily think linearly